That's their goal, is to terraform. Although I don't think everybody's on board with that. I'm tired and a lot of bit high. I'm jealous. I'm on a cleanse right now. I can't. So, you enjoy that for me, okay? I hope you're not too high, but you have a nice cozy night. What do you mean? Anne totally signed off on that, yeah. Okay, so if you're just joining us, there's a few characters, I believe, that we should talk about. First of all, this book is about Mars. The first 100 people have been sent to settle on Mars and build the first habitat. So that's where we are now. 100 people have flown to Mars, and they're currently building the first habitat. They've been pretty successful. They've got a lot of it set up now. They have like a power plant. They have like, they call it the alchemy station, but it's like the chemical engineering station. They have a habitat built underground where they spend a lot of their time now to protect themselves from radiation. They're doing a lot of exploring. There's a few characters of note out of the 100. The first one is John Boone. John Boone is the first man on Mars. He, I guess, went in 2019. He was the first man on Mars. And now he's coming back with the permanent settlers. And he's a bit of a celebrity. And he's in a love triangle. There's a love triangle with a Russian, 2 American men and 1 Russian lady. Tale as old as time. And now it's on Mars. Yeah, Maya Twatnova is using her Russian wiles to seduce the 2 most powerful men on Mars, basically. There's Frank and there's John. John is the first man on Mars, and then Frank is like... Frank is technically in charge. Like, he's like the highest ranking guy on the Americans side. But everybody likes John more. Like, everybody's like, oh, John, he's so cool. Frank is like... I don't know, Frank. He's just not as cool as John. And this eventually culminates somehow. The very first chapter of this book is called Festival Night, and it's told from Frank's perspective of him murdering John and starting a new world order on Mars. He gets somebody to kill John for him, and then we're just left with that. The end. And then it goes all the way back to the flight out, when they're on the spaceship flying to Mars, and that's when we learn that, like, Maya and Frank had sex first, and then Frank kind of, like, scared Maya, and she didn't really like his attitude, so she like called it off. And then her and John had sex, and they were like super hot with it. They had 0G sex on the spaceship in the bubble dome. It was very romantic, very sexy. Frank, not happy. But, we're here to do a job. Everybody's got a job to do, so they're mostly just getting along. And now they've landed on Mars, and they've built the first habitat that they live in, which is underground, which is not ideal. But, you have to start somewhere. And then the story is told, so the spaceship part of the story is told from Maya's perspective. And then the part of the story that we're in now is being narrated by a woman called Nadia. Nadia is also a Russian woman, but she's not as hot as Maya. And she's Maya's best friend. And Maya has just been yapping nonstop. She's always like, John doesn't like me anymore. And Frank is mad all the time. And I didn't do anything wrong. So, and then Nadia gets in a construction accident and she loses her pinky. Cause she's like a construction engineer. She's a real badass chick. She's doing a lot of work on Mars because now they're actually in the construction part of their jobs. And so Nadia was doing some work, and may or may not be because Maya was stressing her out, but she gets into an accident with a hammer and a rock, and the hammer like gets stuck. And then when she's trying to get the hammer unstuck, it like fucking smashes her hand and she loses a finger. And then then she's on like medical leave and she's all bored and depressed, and then she goes to the North Pole. She goes on like a little vacation trip with the geologist. And that's basically where we left off. And then there's one more character. My favorite character is Arcady, who can do no wrong, and he's never going to die. And he's right about everything. Arcady, king of Phobos. Long live the king. So there's this guy Arcady. He's kind of wild. He's also Russian, and he's all like, we should do whatever we want to do because nobody can tell us what to do because we're on Mars and they're on Earth, and we don't have to listen to Earth anymore, and we can build a perfect utopia on Mars. And everybody's like, shut up, you communist. John kind of likes his ideas. John is excited about it. He's like, yeah, I don't really want I don't want Earth 2.0. So John kind of likes Arcady, and Frank just doesn't like anybody that takes authority away from him, so he doesn't like Arcady. But Arcady is he was building a moon base on the moon of Mars, Phobos. So he's been gone for a while, building a moon base. And where we left off, Arcady has finally finished building his moon base with his team, and they've come down to Mars. And so we left off with Arcady getting a tour of the facilities. And he's kind of talking shit. He's like, why is it so ugly? On Phobos, we made everything look super cool. They like decorated it and they were all excited, and then he gets down to Mars and he's like, what the fuck are you guys doing down here? It's fucking looks stupid. And he was telling them like ways that they could make it pretty, and he was like, you guys know if you use your chemistry degrees, you can make colorful bricks out of all of the materials that we have here. You could be making brick mosaic buildings. It doesn't have to be like a fucking construction site. He always has great ideas. And that's currently, that's also part of a current debate that is happening in the community of like, how are we building our society? How are we changing the surface of the planet? Are we making it for the worse, or are we making it for the best, you know? And then there's people who want to like terraform, and then there's people, well, there's Anne. Anne is being such a sad girl. She's a geologist, and she really doesn't want to like change the surface of the entire planet. She understands that like they have to do some things, but she's like, we don't have to bulldoze the whole planet. And we just need to remember that every time we go somewhere, every time we decide to do anything, we are permanently changing this planet. It is only going to be untouched once. So she wants to do everything really slowly, and just remember that this is only untouched, unexplored once, and we shouldn't go for the most drastic measures before we get the chance to appreciate the planet as it is. And so she's getting really sad because, like, nobody agrees with her. They're like, fuck it, dude, melt the glaciers. We need to use all of the water. We gotta flood the plains. We gotta drive everywhere. I need more dynamite. We're gonna build windmills that are gonna warm the atmosphere. Yeah. Drill, baby, drill. And everyone else is like, why are you so excited? It's just a bunch of rocks. Oh, who's in charge of food? A Japanese woman by the name of Hiroko. She's an interesting character, but she hasn't she's only had a few scenes so far. But Hiroko is the farm lady. She's in charge of, like, the plants and I guess the animals too. I don't know who's in charge of the animals, but Hiroko is in charge of building the farms, and she's got, like, her own squad that is working on the farms and the bio stuff with the plants. She's really interesting, but she hasn't had any major scenes yet. Except for once when people were gossiping about her and saying that she was building a male harem. And that she was gonna inseminate herself with all of the men on Mars to make her own her own farm society, I guess. But really, she's just been, like, running around the ship, like, growing mushrooms in the bubble dome and having fun. So everyone else is kind of, like, weird, you know? Okay, so Arcady. Arcady is home, and Arcady and Nadia have been talking a lot, especially after she's been talking to Arcady, and she totally has a huge, massive, nerdy crush on him. But Arcady's kind of like, she thinks that he's, like, too out of her league. And he's also kind of a ladies' man. So she doesn't think she stands a chance. No, I hope Arcady and Nadia become a thing. Emmerach, how could you say that? Did you just get your characters mixed up? Because that's unacceptable otherwise. Okay. Nadia Nine Fingers. It's easy to color bricks, Arcady said. Add manganese oxide from the magnesium smelting, and you have pure white bricks. Add carbon left over from the Bosch process for black. You can get any shade of red you want by altering the amount of ferric oxides, including some really stunning scarlets. Sulfur for yellows, and there must be something for greens and blues. I don't know what, but Spencer might. Maybe some polymer based on sulfur? I don't know. But a bright green would look marvelous in such a red place. It will have a blackish shade to it from the sky. But it will still be green, and the eye is pulled to it. And then, with these colored bricks, you could build walls that are all mosaics. It's beautiful to do it. Everyone can have their own wall or building. Whatever they want. All the factories in the alchemist's quarter look like outhouses or discarded sardine tins. Brick around them would help insulate them. So there is a good scientific reason for it, But truthfully, it's just as important that they look good. That it looks like home here. I've already lived too long in a country that thought only of utility. We must show that we value more than that here, yes? No matter what we do to the buildings, Maya pointed out sharply. No matter what we do to the buildings, the ground around them will still be all ripped up. But not necessarily. Look, when construction is over, it would be very possible to grade the ground right back to its original configuration, and then cast loose rock over the surface in a way that would imitate the aboriginal plane. Dust storms would deposit the required fines soon enough. And then, if people walked on pathways, and vehicles ran on roads or tracks, soon it would look like the original ground. Occupied here and there by these colorful mosaic buildings, and glass domes stuffed with greenery. And yellow brick roads or whatnot. Of course we must do it. It is a matter of spirit. And that's not to say it could have been done earlier. The infrastructure had to be installed. That's always messy. But now we are ready for the art of architecture, the spirit of it. He waved his hands around, stopped suddenly, popped his eyes at the dubious expressions framed in the faceplates around him. Well, it's an idea, yes. Yes, Nadia thought, looking around with interest, trying to visualize it. Perhaps that kind of process would bring back her pleasure in the work. Perhaps it would look different to Anne then. She wasn't sure. More ideas from Arcady, as Maya put it in the pool that night, looking sour. Just what we need. But they're good ideas, Nadia said. She got out, showered, put on a jumper. Later that night, she met Arcady again and took him to see the northwest corner chamber of Underhill, which she had left bare-walled so that she could show him the structural detail. It's very elegant, he said, rubbing a hand over the bricks. Really, Nadia, all of Underhill is magnificent. I can see your hand everywhere in it. Or I can see your hand everywhere on it. Pleased, she went to a screen and called up the plans she had been working on for a larger habitat. 3 rows of vaulted chambers stacked underground. In one wall of a very deep trench. Mirrors on opposite walls of the trench. Mirrors on the opposite wall of the trench to direct sunlight down into the rooms. Arcady nodded and grinned, and pointed at the screen, asking questions and making suggestions. An arcade between the rooms and the wall of the trench. Open space, and each story laid back a bit from the one below it, so each has a balcony overlapping the arcade. Yes, that should be possible. And they tapped at the computer screen, altering the architectural sketch as they spoke. Later, they walked in the domed atrium. They stood under tall clusters of black bamboo leaves, the plants still in pots while the ground was prepared. It was quiet and dark. My next RimWorld playthrough, I'm naming everyone after characters in this book. That's awesome. I'm also going to start naming things after characters in this book. I was literally thinking that. I'm like, if I ever get the chance, I'm going to name something Arcady. At least until I finish the book. I hope my opinion doesn't change. There's no way Arcady can be ruined. Okay. Oh, that one sucked. You're welcome. Later, they walked in the domed atrium. They stood under tall clusters of black bamboo leaves, the plants still in pots while the ground was prepared. It was quiet and dark. We could perhaps lower this area 1 story, Arcady said softly. Cut windows and doors into your vaults and lighten them up. Nadia nodded. We thought of that. We were going to do it, but it's slow getting so much dirt out through the locks. She looked at him. But what about us, Arcady? So far, you've only talked about infrastructure. I should have thought that beautifying buildings would be pretty low down on your list of things to do. Arcady grinned. Well, maybe all the things higher on the list are already done. What? Did I hear Arcady Nikolievich say that? Well, you know. I don't complain just to complain, Miss Nine Fingers. And the way things have been going down here, it's very close to what I was calling for during the voyage out. Close enough that it would be stupid to complain. I must admit, you surprise me. Do I? But I think about how you all have been working together here this last year. Half a year. He laughed. Half a year. And for all that time, we have had no leaders, really. Those nightly meetings when everyone has their say and the group decides what needs doing most. That's how it should be. And no one is wasting time buying or selling because there is no market. Everything here belongs to all equally. And yet none of us can exploit anything that we own, for there's no one outside us to sell it to. It's been a very communal society, a democratic group, all for one and one for all. Nadia sighed. Things have changed, Arcady. It's not like that anymore. And it's changing more all the time. So it won't last. Why do you say that? He cried. It will last if we decide that it will. She glanced at him skeptically. You know it isn't so simple. Well, no, not simple, but within our power. Maybe. She sighed, thinking of Maya and Frank, of Phyllis and Sax and Anne. There's an awful lot of fighting going on. Well, that's all right, as long as we agree on certain basic things. She shook her head, rubbed her scar with the fingers of her other hand. Her absent finger was itching, and suddenly she felt depressed. Overhead, the long bamboo leaves were defined by occluded stars. They looked like sprays of giant bacillus. Oh, they looked like sprays of a giant bacillus. They walked along the path between crop trays. Arcady picked up her maimed hand and peered at the scar until it made her uncomfortable, and she tried to pull it back. Okay, I'm like getting so hot in here. Oh my god. They're totally gonna kiss soon, right? Right, guys? They're gonna kiss, right? Like, oop. Oh my god. See, I'm like dropping shit. Hand holding. Oh my god. How lewd. It's so cute. Oh my god, I just read a headline. Okay, oh my god, they're so cute. Oh, I can't look. I can't. Okay. She shook her head, rubbed her scar with the fingers of her other hand. Her absent finger was itching, and suddenly she felt depressed. They walked along the path between crop trays. Arcady picked up her maimed hand and peered at the scar until it made her uncomfortable, and she tried to pull it back. He drew it up, gave the newly exposed knuckle at the base of the ring finger a kiss. I didn't read that part. He kissed her. He kissed her hand. Ads. Okay, wait, we gotta wait for the ads. Okay. They definitely let me know when there are ads. Oh, the ad was only for 5 seconds? Sweet. Okay, because I will stop. Okay. I didn't read that part. I read the thing he says after that. Okay, he drew it up, gave the newly exposed knuckle at the base of the ring finger a kiss. You've got strong hands, Miss Nine Fingers. How is she not dying right now? How is she not? I would have fainted. You've got strong hands, Miss Nine Fingers. I did before this, she said, making a fist and holding it up. Someday Vlad will grow you a new finger, he said, and took the fist and opened it. Then held the hand as they continued to walk. This reminds me of the Arboretum in Sebastopol. This reminds me of the Arboretum in Sebastopol, he said. Nadia said, not really listening, intent on the warm heft of his hand in hers, in the tight intermingling of their fingers. He had strong hands, too. She was 51 years old, a round little Russian woman with gray hair, a construction worker with a missing finger. So nice to feel the warmth of another body. It had been too long, and her hand soaked up the feeling like a sponge, until the poor thing tingled, full and warm. It must feel odd to him, she thought, then gave up on it. I'm glad you're here, she said. Tears. Oh my god. It happened, boys. It fucking happened. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna go to the bathroom.